So yeah, we're live. Everybody, thanks for turning up. We've been lucky enough tonight to get at least an hour with Drag. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, privileged to have the man on. If anyone doesn't know who Dragnaught SYLVAS is, what rock have you been hiding under? You know, he's the confident, cocky, up and own self, brilliant man that does be on the internet telling everybody what to do.
It's pretty accurate. Pretty accurate.
Drag, if you want to introduce yourself, just let people know who don't know.
I guess if you don't know me, I've just been on this YouTube weird platform type thing for quite a few number of years. I first kind of cropped up in the Magic Sandwich Show like back in 2012, and I got encouraged to start my YouTube channel by Arn Raw. And since then, there's a few other episodes where I pop on Magic Sandwich Show. Interestingly enough, I helped revive it a few months back, but it's on hiatus now. But I have my own channel, which serves as kind of a catharsis for me, because normally I spend enormous amounts of time at university working on my bachelor's degree in biology, with a specialization in cellular, molecular, and biotechnology. I also do biochemistry research as an undergraduate in a very, very boring, very niche field of plant biology. But ultimately, my goal is to become a cancer researcher and to utilize some very nifty techniques and equipment to help cure the scourge that is cancer. But other than that, I'm on YouTube. I like having discussions with people, with mostly religious, but I give commentary on damn near anything. I enjoy learning about other people's culture. Love learning about a variety of topics, not just science. Love, discussing philosophy, and of course, calling out bullshit. And if anyone has not come across me for whatever reason, that's one of the first things that they will notice is that I don't care what team or what tribe you're on, you want to call out bullshit. And it's not always that popular with folks. So
yeah, on that topic, there's some housekeeping, so to speak, I want to bring up. It's been recently brought to my attention that people have been talking about me behind my back. They don't appreciate what I'm trying to do here. They don't like who I'm bringing on and have stuck me in teams and being tribal. At the end of the day, this is my channel. I'm trying to build somewhere here that is open to everyone. That if you want to come on, you can come on. Send me an email. You're more than welcome on. You can have your R. You can say whatever you want. Don't talk about me. Don't whinge about me. Just fucking grow a set of balls. This is an over 18 channel. We're not children. And yeah, I ain't gonna get into that fucking tribalism. I don't want your fucking drama. Everybody is welcome here, and I will. I'll put on whoever the fuck I want. Plain and simple.
fair enough, man.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, that.
I'm sure you've had some incidences with tribalism yourself, back from the G plus days. Like I've heard you've been referred to as old guard.
Yeah, so I was part of some of the guys and gals, who were on Google Plus, and back at them days, YouTube was a wild west, and it went through different stages. Google Plus was kind of a social media platform for Google that was attached at the hip to YouTube, so you could actually set up events and invite people in to your hangouts based on like who was in your circles, your social circle on the social media platform Google Plus. And so you could share stuff and you could comment on stuff. And so what happened is that let's say someone would share a topic about young earth creationism, and then a whole bunch of us would comment under there, like Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and then someone would just say, screw it, I'm just going to open up a hangout, and they would post a link in that thread, and so then all the people who are participating in that can then go live and discuss it. And so that's and it was a good system. But what ended up happening is that people saw this as an opportunity for, rather than having open conversations and learning and kind of being their own catharsis, you would occasionally get folks who say, I want the affirmation and I want the notoriety of being one of these people who goes in here and just pwns everybody. And that was a mindset that was kind of a holdover from what some of us call the pwnage era of YouTube, where you could directly respond to videos, like directly underneath the video you would have responses, and so it'd be a list of videos.
That was the original YouTube idea.
It was interesting because that's how you grew your channel, you know. So you would try to pwn whatever the original video was. You try to offer a correction for whatever it is, and so you could follow the saga between this person and their muse, just kind of going back and forth. And that was an interesting time. That's when Brett Keane gained quite a bit of notoriety. And so he is also old guard. Technically, he's one of the first to do stuff like that.
But from the atheist point of view, wasn't it? He was atheist, then Christian, then atheist, and then back again or something.
No, Brett would like flip flop, and right now he may be sincerely some type of theist. A lot of us are kind of iffy because he's not that reliable of a person. So it is a lot of as nefarious as some of us make him out to be. There is a lot that you can learn from dealing with him. You can learn how not to have conversations if you are not an honest interlocutor. You can learn a lot on how to bullshit people. One of my first lessons going live and talking to someone like Brett was that I need to be very careful how I phrase things. I need to go into a conversation not assuming that the person that I'm speaking to is going to be very charitable with my statements, and that when I respond to people, I need to be very poignant. I need to understand that my words may be used against me, and that the points that I'm trying to make should be couched specifically so that it can help prevent any misunderstanding. So, but that's just kind of my take on how to interact and what you can gain from interacting with people who may be a bit more disingenuous than others.
Yeah, that is the whole point. You can't have a conversation with someone if they're going to just bullshit you. It doesn't work. It doesn't make for a good conversation. It's not worth your fucking time. I prefer, if you're willing to have a conversation, you're willing to be honest, put your points forward and have that discussion, and be willing to open and listen to me whenever I put mine through, then I'm willing. You can have a conversation.
Right. Yeah, and that's ideally what a lot of folks say that they're trying to strive for, is to get across whatever point that they believe to be true, or they're just wanting to explore, and kind of have other people on the opposite side of them to see what's wrong with it. You know, let's do internal and external critiques of ideas, but it doesn't always work out that way. It depends on.
The very first person I talked to online was G-Man. I think you actually streamed it live whenever I was doing it. I was hanging out with Jay, getting drunk with Jay, and then G-Man went live discussing, what do you call that guy from Scotland that was caught doing that thing?
Oh, Matt Bell.
Yes, he was discussing that and saying that lying was worse than pedophilia, and I was like, right, fuck this. Let's just go for it, and jumped in. I think you did stream it at the time. The cunt cut me off because you were all shout big drag or love drag or something at the end, and the bastard cut me off before it.
No, he gets on his high horse when he wants to be controversial. And it's interesting to watch. The G-Man saga could be its own 5-part series, because it's been going on for so many years, and there's so many points to it that people have missed, and some things that people don't know about. But it is interesting for me, as someone who knows him quite well, to watch other people interact with him, because he by default assumes that everyone's up my ass, and so he's always very cautious about what he says and how he engages other people.
Sorry, just to say, there's people whinging about there's too much blue as it is. I keep fucking saying I'm going to wipe people out and bring it down. I have a list and all made of the 10 moderators, and that's it. And it just fucking, everybody will clear your comments. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. You'll be grand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I see. So if you see comments about overweight coward, that's not it's not a serious insult. That's an inside joke.
That's only Vegeta as well. Yeah.
That's Vegeta. Yeah. So that when you see people insulting, I don't ever take that like don't.
Oh,
please,
Vegeta, no, leave Vegeta alone.
Yeah,
leave Vegeta alone.
If you see people insult me, don't stop them. Like, don't just because I enjoy it. Like, I think it's hilarious.
Let everything go through. Vegeta's a funny style of humor, but it's just humor. Let the man go.
It's it's the overweight coward thing is funny, because it's actually something that G-Man went crazy one day He was mad at me, obviously, but he had a list of insults that he just belted out, and one of them was overweight coward. And he said it with just such vigor that it's become its own meme. And so when you see people call me an overweight coward, that it's a reference to that video, and it's absolutely hilarious. In fact, it got put on the soundboard, the G-Man soundboard, because it was so funny. And so now we just use it as a joke, along with physical jail.
Yeah, I have the soundboard hotkeyed on my phone. It's quite funny sometimes, like. And that tune,
Yeah.
I have to say, what do you call it? Come down to fucking Jersey City.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put that on my phone and listened to that on the way home from work at least a couple of days a week. That's a great fucking tune. Was it Big Morty or somebody? What do you call it, Monty, or who made that?
Oh, so the Audacity, Hannibal and Monty made, but the soundboard, someone named Kevin Buchik, who's also old guard, he made that. He's into computer science and that sort of thing. So we'd all been talking about it for years, like, oh, we really need a G-Man soundboard. So we all got together and found timestamps on different videos, and we all just emailed him those timestamps, and so he took the audio from that and he made the soundboard.
And then took the soundboard bits and made the song, and the song just works perfectly.
Yeah,
It really does. I've seen that you have one coming from for Deroy.
Yes. So the Deroy one is out. I just like last night changed OBS and duplicated my scene for the Audacity, and now I duplicated it and then changed the link for the unlisted link for the Deroy song. So yes. Yeah.
Where the fuck did you find Deroy? Now, I know G-Man came from the old, the G Plus days, and I've seen you hanging out. And if anyone hasn't seen two things, Dragnaught beating G-Man in an arm wrestle, and then Fiona beating him, definitely worth a watch. And G-Man being held up by the throat by Drag. Definitely two things that would be worth having a look about. But where the fuck did you find him?
So what if I told you one of your fellow countrymen sent him to me?
An Irishman sent them to you.
No. It's just that no, that was my all Irish people are also Scottish joke. But
that's all right.
So a Scotsman, a true Scotsman, Doc Savage, sent him my way. I'm not sure exactly how Doc Savage found him, but he has a penchant for finding crazy folks. And so he had sent me Deroy probably like maybe 4 or 5 months prior to me ever saying anything. And I said, you know what, I'll check him out. And so I would watch a few videos. I said, okay, I'm going to put this guy, like, this guy has a lot of videos and no one's really responding to him, but he had been discovered before by some other atheist channels, but they sort of lost track because he really wouldn't engage. And so I said, okay, so he is somewhat known amongst certain circles. Let me put him on the back burner. Fast forward, to the 4 or 5 months for the first time, and then Doc Savage says, "Hey, remember that guy that I call, G-Man's retarded uncle from the future? Yeah, I know who you're talking about."
He is.
And he says, "Yeah, so he's making videos about you." I said, "Oh, really? Okay." so I watched the video and I just go, wow, this is really weird and homoerotic. I think I'm going to review it. And so that's how that happened. Yeah.
And so began the daily morning ritual of you wake up, get your coffee, and sit down, and then rip in either G-Man or Deroy.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And he realized later that I had already anticipated a lot of what he was going to do, because I'd watched him. Like I'd been sizing him up for a while, but he didn't know that. And he already had shown signs of not being really capable of handling a back and forth with people. And so I said, okay, he's going to cut and run after he sees who he's up against. And anytime I say stuff like that, people really get offended and they'll go and contact Dragnaught, just being arrogant again. No, like, I understand that there's a certain mentality of people that when they underestimate someone and then they kind of find out who they're dealing with, they know to just disengage. And so people will then take steps to do that. And one of that is playing hide the ball. and the ball in this case being the videos on his channel. So I preemptively would download his videos in anticipation for it, and that's why there's a break in some of the videos that I did, because he was under the impression that if he just hid the ones that he thought I was going to review, then I wouldn't review them. Well, if he noticed like the pattern in the videos that I would review, there weren't any of his social commentary videos I didn't touch, and that's purposeful. I don't care, and listening to some of them pissed me off, so I'm not going to review them. It's almost exclusively his videos about atheists, and those are the ones that I pick. And so I downloaded
your
quite a
timeline
few
when
of
you
them.
pick them is messed up, because you'd be looking at one and then you'd be watching a stream and you'd be like, well, this one's from 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's the shitty part, is that I at first, like, because I have made a playlist of Deroy videos. The playlist is in reverse chronological order, and so there's a break from that to the next where I go back and go in chronological order, because he stopped making videos of that type once he found out that just him just making videos about it is only going to add more fuel to the flame. So he's now recently, I want to say a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, he is now uploading videos and doing live videos on Facebook, and so he's no longer
Facebook.
Yeah, his Facebook channel, as he calls it. And so that's where he feels that I guess he won't get much interaction. But surprise, I was in his comment section as he was, and he and I were interacting, very, very cordial. And so he, at the end of his whatever that was, wanted me to go live so that he could be in my live comments and I guess heckle me and challenge me and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, I've been doing that for years. Like I like that. I guess he thinks that if the shoe is on the other foot, then like something bad's going to happen. I'm going to see how it feels, and it's like, no, I love that. I love being heckled.
Wouldn't be a challenge though to have an actual conversation with Deroy.
Yeah, it would be a challenge for me because I have to be very careful about what I say. And I probably won't be doing a lot of the talking. I'll just slowly push the envelope and then just stop and let him fill in the blanks, because he doesn't seem cognizant of the things that he says, such as the comment that he made in a video that I didn't review, where he described his experience in church camp, where he was wrestling with the other guys in his underwear, and then some of them would get erections, and most everybody else would go, hold on a second, what do you mean you guys were wrestling in your underwear and then you guys are just getting erections? That's a little suspect. That's as someone who wrestled, like, I don't think there was a time where I'm behind a guy trying to submit him and I'm just all of a sudden going, man, this guy's back feels really good up against my crotch. It would have been like I had a unitard on, so like it would have been very obvious if I had an erection.
There is that secret video as well, and I don't know which of the Dragoons, we'll come back to that in a minute, but which one of the Dragoons made it, and I have it saved in a wee playlist on my channel, and nobody will find, it's like an unlisted playlist, and it's the G-Man, I think, looking at, what do you call him, begins with T. His name begins with T, and he's having a wank at the computer, and it's a wee cartoon, and he loses control.
Oh yeah,
I'm not supposed to like this. I'm not supposed to like this.
So that is true empiricism. Yeah, that was a parody video made, and yeah, I know who made that. That's pretty funny. Absolutely
hilarious. Like, that's what I use for people if they're like, do you not know who G-Man is? Oh, this is G-Man. That's their first impression.
Oh yeah, no, it's a good introduction because he gets mad at stuff like that. He's this evil, immoral atheist. This shows how immoral they are, and it's like, this guy's having a fucking joke based on stuff that you said. You're the one telling people that you have to pray away your gay thoughts, and it was only recently we found out that he thinks that straight guys normally fantasize about other guys, and so it's like, oh well, okay. All right, my man.
I'll be honest, man, I did watch him. I'm still subbed to both the channels, and he'll pop in every now and again, and I've sent him a couple of emails. I've tried to get him on and stuff, but once he appeared in the lion suit, that was it for me. I was like, this man's lost it. He's
Yeah.
just lost it now.
Yeah, I like that one was really weird. Even for me, I was like, that's like what?
Was it G-Man that came up with the Dragoons, or was it someone else that came up with the Dragoons, or sorry, trolls. Sorry, trolls.
So excellent question. People usually have two questions. My name, where's my name come from, and about the Dragoons. The Dragoons was so G-Man had previously, and this is probably 3 years ago. 3 years ago, G-Man said that there's a cult of Dragnaught. There are people who go to Dragnaugh's page and they worship him and they believe anything that he says, and they're all, he has the religion of Dragnaught. And he kept repeating this. And so I said, okay, if there's a secret cabal of people that I have mind control over, then you all need a name. And so we did 2 polls on Google Plus. And so the polls had different versions, the Dragon Knights, the Dragoons, the Dreadnoughts, different permutations of that type of theme. And so after 2 rounds of voting, Dragoons was the one that got the most votes from said cult of Dragnaught. So the cult of Dragnaught then became Dragoons, and so we just kind of carried the joke around ever since then. But G-Man has forgot that he was the one that came up with it. Like, he literally made it, and so we decided just to slap an official title on it and just keep it going, just for the shits and giggles.
Yeah, well, it seems to have brought everyone together under one nice wee umbrella. It makes you all easier to call trolls, to be picked on. It makes life a whole lot easier for some people.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but people have taken it seriously. There's actually, I've only recently found out there are people that some folks have communicated with on YouTube who really think that I have mind control over people. There are folks who believe that I genuinely will show up at their door one day and physically assault them. There are people who think that I'm out to get them. Like, there are people who are severely mentally ill and they believe some of these things, and they can't be disabused of it. And I just find it fascinating, even though when openly acknowledged it's a joke, right? I tell people to go do what the fuck they want to do, and I'll tell people, you know what, y'all, quit fucking throwing money at me, I'm trying to talk. But even like me saying that openly, people then still make up, Dragnaught's here for money and stupid shit like that.
Oh, no, I've done that, man. You said stop giving me money one day, and it was payday, and I was like, fuck it, I haven't put a super chat in since I got paid. I usually allow myself so much a month, and I was like, fuck it, there you go, purely because you told me not to. Mind control. Have $2.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's whatever. Like that's it's funny to find out what people actually believe, because the truth is stranger than fiction. If there's one lesson that I kind of walked away with, is that it's really strange to find out how people come to their conclusions, and then in the same breath say that they're completely rational, or that they're more rational than this person or that person. In reality, that's not the case. It's that there are a certain level of delusions we all entertain, and it just depends on how close to reality each one of us is, and that's a sliding scale.
It comes down to importance as well, man. Like, if I said to you right now, what's the most important thing to you in your life right now? She's probably sitting behind you.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, under the covers. Yeah, that's one of the most important things. Right. Laterally to her is pecan pie. But you know what? You're close. It's a close second.
It's real life, though. The point I'm making is real life. The most important thing to me is my wee girl. YouTube. I'm here to have the conversation, to enjoy myself, and to have fun. Hopefully, at the end of the day, we'll maybe build a few bridges. We'll bring some people in we didn't meet before. Different views is better. I prefer to surround myself with people who disagree with me. It's more fucking fun.
Yeah, that's a big point, and I think people give lip service to that far too often. Just my personal opinion. I actually opened up a hangout a few years back when I was cool with a lot of people, and I said, look, if people have an issue with me, you're not getting attacked. You're not getting, this is not a call out. This is, you come in and you tell me what you don't like about me. It's something that I could actually change or work on. Uh-huh. And I did that, and then I still remember some of them. I mentioned my education far too often. I knew that was one of them, there was something else that had to do more with how I run the channel, which I did actually change a bit. But that was one that really stuck out. A few people are like, yeah, it does get old. Okay, that's fine. I just say it just to piss people off now, but now that more people are cognizant of that, I guess it's less annoying. So, but that's, I guess, kind of an extreme measure. But I have noticed that there is this urge to try and close ranks around folks who have a hot button topic or a set of hot button topics. Like, this is really important to them, and you have to agree with them lockstep. If you don't, then all of a sudden you're outside of that in group.
Yep.
So then you are to be exiled forever and just excommunicated or whatever. And it's like, no, there are very important issues to me as a black guy in Texas. I can't force everybody to value the same things that I do, because you're not me. You don't come from that. You can empathize, you can understand, but because that's not on the top echelon of importance in your life, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's one of the things that I kind of find annoying, because I see that bleeding over into many other areas. And that's something that certain people tried to come at me about when the whole Emperor Atheist thing came to light, where it turns out Emperor Atheist doesn't care for gay folks too much. And it's like, that's part and parcel with being a part of certain communities, unfortunately. But I didn't excommunicate him, because you know what, he can think rationally, and I think there's a degree to which I can communicate to him about why he may have some misconceptions and hopefully change his mind. And that people people really, really respect, who do the same thing with folks who have adopted certain racist views. They think that they can reach them because this person's been rational in the past. And I was like, you know what, I'm not going to deal with them, but if you think that you can reach them, go for it. But I'm not going to look down upon you for doing that. But that's your prerogative. I can't tell you what's important in your life in that way. And I don't think it's fair for people to say, I can't, you associate with them, then I can't associate with you. And this they get back to the high school politics sort of thing.
It really does boil down to something very similar to high school. If you're not in my clique, then you're not in that clique, then you're not important. And suggestions are welcome. Commands and telling people how to do things does not go down well. I'm more than willing to open to suggestions. Tweaked a few things in the channel and all that. They're not much, because I like to micromanage, according to Darth, and control everything. But you do take suggestions, but flat out telling someone that you need to do this, no, fuck off. That's instantly going to get a response of fuck away off. I've said before, what I'm aiming for here is to shorten it, an Irish pub on a Saturday night, where anyone from any walk of life can come down. They can go to the back of the pool room, they can relax with people that they disagree with, have a few games of pool, have a chat, be called an asshole and told you're a fucking prick, but know that you're welcome the next weekend again. And you can come every weekend. It's a big giant Venn diagram with loads of interlayers and loads of sections, and this whole tribalism is fucking annoying. I hate in the way that the skeptic community, as it's supposed to be called, is just becoming so fucking tribal, because it's not skeptic community. If you don't disagree with them, you get excommunicated.
That's the interesting thing that we were talking about before we went live, is that people skeptic and rational in their name, and I'm like okay, I get it. That you want to be on the forefront of that. That's like, I'm gonna pick on him, this Cult of Dusty using logic, as his catchphrase, and you sit down and listen to him, he's not very logical. Like, he knows dick all. Like, he ends up using more logical fallacies than the people that he's talking about. But that's just like, I can't remember the video. There's one video where he was talking about it, and that he's using logical fallacies to somehow counter someone else's supposed fallacies. And it's just like, that kind of embodies like my issue with, when you want to put yourself on that pedestal, you want to put yourself above the fray, then you have to actually embody that. It has to be something that is not just a catchphrase, it's not just a buzzword. Actually be logical, actually be objective, actually be impartial, and instead of trying to be slightly more logical than the person you disagree. And I don't get that personally, but maybe that's because I've kind of learned that you can enjoy having conversations with folks. You can enjoy meeting new people, and the best thing that you could do is keep people at arm's length, because the second you start to get a little bit closer to folks, and I say this from personal experience, you start to become numb to some of the bullshit that you would normally call out.
Mm-hmm.
And just having folks at arm's length and saying, you know what, if I can call this person out, I can call you out respectfully, albeit, but you can still do it. And I think that's really good policy, just to keep everybody at arm's length, while you're participating in this.
Oh, I can agree with you in certain points, but then fuck me, sometimes I start to think like Richard. We're going through the Book of Enoch at the minute, and then it's like, well, what do you think of this, Robbie? And I answer it like him. It's like, holy fuck, man, I'm starting to think like this guy now. There's obviously no aliens out there, but I can totally see where you're coming from. The friendlier you get with someone, the more that you would not call out their bullshit. I try not to, and I try to call out as much bullshit as I see, regardless. I've been called aggressive. I'm not aggressive. I'm just an Irishman that called out bullshit. If you're going to be an asshole, I'll call you an asshole. If you're going to do a script, I look back, I think it was the Jim Majors one, way back earlier when at the after party someone come on, and I called Jim out just as quick as I called the next person out, because they were going down the route of the same stupid fucking questions that you hear in these debates all the goddamn live long day. Watch 10 of them, memorize them, you've heard all the answers and questions. The only difference is there's two different people on screen. It's the same questions with two different people. And
yeah, I hate that. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I hate that, because there was a period of time before a lot of you new folks were privy to this, that when Sci-10 Brigade first came around, and no one had really encountered the precept argument, no one really knew how to deal with it because it was a script. Now, mind you, some of us were used to scripts from true empiricism, because he had his own. He actually took his time to create his own script, because this is how he would pwn the atheist, which is fine, whatever. But
put the effort in there.
Yeah, he put the effort into it, and then I still commend him for memorizing random factoids about biochemistry. Cool, get on my level. But it's interesting that when Sci-10 Brigade came around, you could say that he established the first market for precept, and then everyone else was just kind of a franchisee. And in the respect of, he produced a product, which was the precept script, and then each of the Cyclones, get it, had a watered down version of what Sci-10 himself had. And so you hear the same lines like, using your reasoning to justify your reasoning. You can't know that to be true. You can't know what you know. And a lot of these canned responses to these questions as far as epistemology. But the landscape was way different. And being that those type of scripts are designed to be very uncharitable, you had a lot of people not well equipped to deal with them. And I think that's kind of what turned me off highly from anyone who has a script, because you're not going into the discussion trying to find out what someone says. You're trying to put them in a box, because that's what the script is good for. And one of the main things, and actually I talked to Jenna from the Atheist Experience about this, because she and I were conversing about her experience debating. And I said the one thing that some of these precepts try to do, the many of them that I've seen, they're trying to pigeonhole you, because their script relies on you being a foundationalist. If you don't even know what that is, if you don't know anything about epistemology, and they ask you a few questions, they're trying to get you to admit or to acknowledge that you're a foundationalist, when in reality you may be a found herentist like myself, or you may not be one at all and be a coherentist like Sock Account. And so they're not going to take the time to figure that out, or to try and at least educate you on that, because their script relies heavily, actually let's say solely on you being a foundationalist, right? And then saying, well, you know what, you need God as a properly basic belief then. So coherentists don't, by the way, so if you're a coherentist, you don't believe in having properly basic beliefs, so that's why it won't work. But they're not ever going to lets you come to that conclusion. They need that to happen. So it's really uncharitable. And so that when I hear people with scripts, that's what I go back to immediately, and I react accordingly. Probably fairly hostile.
What do you call same as yours? Can't remember his actual name. He's just same as
Oh.
yours.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Begins with an S.
I know
Sky
exactly
something?
Sky out. Sky out. Yes.
Sky out. Yes, we had what do you call it on? Oh, now I'm drawing a complete blank. He's only released one video. The next one's like 6 months later. He was on Sokka's channel. Oh, Carlton.
I know him and Sokka had a discussion on epistemology.
Do you know Carlton?
Carlton? Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Carlton was on. I had Carlton on, and Sky Out turned up in the after party. And as you say, he was trying to keep. He was talking to me, and it was like, well, this, and this says an agnostic is this, and I was like, well, that's fucking wrong. How about asking me instead? As you say,
Yeah.
they're trying to put you in a box.
Yeah. Now that's and Sky Out quickly found out. Like, there's very few people that I've seen other than Sky Out actually, like, wholeheartedly. It just overtly be so far out of his depth, but then try his best to put on the facade of someone who knew.
You can totally tell when he's learned a new word that day. It pops up like 50 times.
Like I read off one of the emails he sent me, and it was hilarious. And it's like, you have no idea what any of these words mean, do you? And so it was his impression that some of us were just, using the shibboleth, using the jargon, the language, just to confuse him. And it's like, no, you wanted to have a conversation like a peer, so we're going to talk to you like a peer. And he couldn't hang, and he got really upset with that. It's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, there's a reason I don't bring up like my biochemistry research just randomly in conversation, because I noticed that people who know a lot of philosophy, unless I'm trying to piss people off, I try to stay away from science, because there's very few people who know as much as me on the topic. So I'm like, I'm forcing myself to communicate with a lay audience on a topic that they probably know nothing about. So it's not a really good conversation. I don't think it's fair. And so I'll purposely put myself in conversations dealing with like epistemology, because I think that's a challenge for me. That's not really my forte. But
I would like to get better at it. I've got like a 101 in philosophy. I know what you are talking about, but I couldn't ring it off myself. I'm trying to bring myself up, as you know. I'm actually in talks with that boy. I've taken that debate on, and we're back and forth trying to sort out details and stuff. Our timing doesn't work because he's fucking West Coast and I'm in Ireland, so it's hard to get timing right. But yeah, I'm going to take that on. That's going to be my first real one. The one I had on Sunday with Jill was a fucking disaster. He was just an asshole. But yeah, I'm trying to do better, and it's the only way you can is to put yourself out there. The first night I said to Drag, I'm considering making a channel, and I'd been playing with OBS and trying to get it working on my laptop. He was like, right, 1 minute, and then grabbed me and dragged me into a room to have a private conversation, but then left it open, and about 7 people come in, and he was like, right, talk. I was like, what? Just talk, right? Go on, talk. That's it. Just deep end, straight in, best way to do it.
That's how you have to happen, man. Like let me talk on that for a second. That's actually a really good point. Bill Ashby said, I like the way Alex Malpass deals with precepts. Now, I've talked to Alex about that, and Alex is a sneaky fuck, okay?
I've got Alex's email. I was thinking of getting him on. I was going to send him an email.
He is good. Give him a good topic, and you'll learn a lot. Alex is a sneaky fuck, okay? Alex knows exactly what he needs to say to a precept without saying if y'all ever watch him talk to a precept, you notice that he never really says a lot. It's because he knows where they're going to go, and he toys with them. And it's fucking hilarious.
I watched the Darth one the other day. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it's so funny how he toys, and he's so coy with them. It's hilarious. But he's a sneaky fuck, and Alex knows I caught on to it. But it's fucking hilarious because he knows exactly how to dance around what they want him to say, and what he purposely will say as bait to get them to move the script forward, and then to fuck with them at that point, and then he'll move the script forward again when he wants to. And it's hard for me to articulate from my perspective what exactly he does, but
yeah, it's not actually philosophy he does. It's an analytical style of philosophy or something that he does, isn't it?
So his area is in logic. So if you know about not so he does know like analytical logic with like math and stuff like that. But it is if you've ever seen anyone use predicate logic, like he's good at that. Epistemology is not really his field, but of course he obviously knows epistemology. So that's Alex's specialty. But no, back to what you were saying. So going into the deep end, that I think people underestimate the value of that, and that this goes back to people just being tribal and not willing to talk to people they disagree with and get all butthurt and shit like that. The reason why that, like me and Saka and others, can get in any of these conversations is because we purposely put ourselves in those situations. And then the 24-hour Nadia hangouts, when we had the revolving hangouts with MK, and there was who else? There was I think Brojo had his hangouts. There was a variety back when G-Man would open up hangouts, True Empiricism, and Neffy. We would purposely go to these hangouts where it's like 5-on-1, and you can come out on top if you know what you're doing, if you know how to control the conversation. But you don't really see a lot of that. There's not a lot of opportunities for that, except now with the new GDC over with AO and whoever else. That's the closest that we have, using Discord.
Something that I was doing, it's now went down and then it come back up again. Now you have to pay for the fucking thing. But I had an alert bot in the channel, in my Discord, that would post only when people went live, and then when they weren't live it would wipe. So I had a channel that was just who's live now, and you could use that bot to technically subscribe to the person without subscribing to them. I had Neffy in there, Jungle Jargon in there, and all this here. If I'm up at 3 in the morning, I can pop into the chat. Oh, Jungle Jargon was live. There's a video on my channel where it's called I Introduced Myself. It was 4 or 5 in the fucking morning. We were up talking shit, and I was like, oh, Jungle Jargon's live. I haven't had a fucking Young Earth Creationist on yet. Let's go introduce ourselves. He had the link in the chat. I jumped on. It's just the best way to do it. Make yourself open, get out there. Nothing can be done until you start doing it. That's the first. If anyone's thinking of doing a channel, wondering about this, that, and the other, it's cool to play with shit, but you ain't going to get your first video out there till your first video's out there. Yeah,
it's like people, it's easy to sit and make a video about somebody. Like I do it all the time. Like my channel is nothing but me sitting and making videos about someone. They're not there. But
your good content usually isn't on your fucking channel.
When I go and I talk to people, and it's off airs in Discord, that's where things get really interesting, because you can watch certain people interact. And I could tell you a perfect example I'm thinking right now is Messenger Reveals. Messenger Reveals is really good at talking and making arguments when the person's not around. When you watch him interact with people, he shuts down within the first 10 minutes of the conversation, because he's used to just being able to dictate things. He's a dictator. Darth Dawkins is a little bit well versed in dealing with contentions, because he has a variety of scripts and ways to get to them, because he's had experience in the rough. He has had experience cutting his teeth from PAL Talk, and when he came to G+, he got better at it. But when
I'm trying to put Messenger Reveals and Darth Dawkins together for a debate.
Oh, that'll be interesting, because that Darth Dawkins does know his philosophy. He knows enough to just be dangerous, but Messenger Reveals isn't going to stress himself with trying to learn anything new. Now, he already has his wannabe cult mentality, so he knows every goddamn thing. But when you point out how illogical it is, that the conclusions that he draws, he just shuts down, and that's it. Like, he's not going to really interact with you. So that's the difference. And I'm picking on him because I wanted to draw that distinction.
Fine. You're right.
Yeah, there's only so much you're going to get out of a conversation with him. That's only it. Whereas you deal with someone like Jesus is Lord, he's been around long enough. Like, he's still stupid, but he's been around long enough to know how to navigate conversation. He still knows how to avoid certain pitfalls when it comes to expressing his conclusions. Now, he's not going to sit down and write out a syllogism for you, but he will do just the bare minimum to stay out of trouble in that arena.
Yeah, he had no idea. Like, he whinged at me in a chat that he hadn't been on because I'd banned the fucker. He's the only person that's actually banned from this channel, and it's only his original account. I'm not going to go through all his trolls and all that. Like, everybody is trolls. Every one of my trolls are named MathPig 2, MathPig 5, MathPig 6. I don't give a shit. Yeah, they know it's me. There's no fucking point in hiding that this is me and all the rest of it. So, but anyway, he is the only person banned off the channel. Whinged and yapped, so I was like, right, this is what we'll do. We'll have a debate. We then went on to his channel and discussed the topic, decided upon it, all the rest of it, and then when he turned up, he said, "This is a." He was useless, man. It was a fucking. Yeah, he tries to control the conversation. All he does is ramble on.
Yeah, it's interesting. He first came around. I found out really quickly. I don't know. Have you seen the discussion on my channel with me and I think it's called Me and Jesus Lord Have a Chat?
No, I haven't, but I will look that up. I didn't know that you had a chat.
So a lot of people don't know I was one of the first people he spoke to, and this is where Jay Pasick and a few others really went, wow, this guy's dumb. I
noticed him from Skylar. He used to troll Skylar hard. So when he first came around, he was just kind of hanging on G-Man's coattails, and that's how a lot of us know him. But from his various appearances on some of our channels, he's been making the rounds, and I just don't deal with him anymore. He knows now that I will make a fool of him, and so he tries to find people that he thinks won't make it. And that's not an insult to anyone else. And the reason I say that is because at the end of the conversation, I go into great detail about the mechanics of anal sex because it bothers him, and I start mentioning things about erogenous zones. If gay sex is so unnatural, why would God put a man's erogenous zone, one of them, in his anus? Like, what point does that serve as far as reproduction? And so we start going over different research, stuff that he claims is research from this doctor. And I was like, this sounds awfully familiar. Let me see something. I said, oh yeah, I think I read that research. Have you read the research from a Dr. Cloud and his assistant, Mr. Barrett? And so he's like, yeah, I think, I think he had something called the Materia Project. I think it was the Shinra Institute had funded it. I think it's something about the diseases spawned from gay sex. Is that what you're talking about? And so he's like, yeah, I think that was definitely it. And so there are people in the chat who started recognizing the names of the things that I was saying. They're all Final Fantasy VII references. They're video game references. And he's agreeing that this is a thing. And I was like, let me see if I can go a little bit deeper. And people who have been watching me for a while, they know that when I start using Final Fantasy VII references, that's a signal that I think this person's bullshitting me. Yeah.
And then I get them to agree to the fictitious characters and research that they claim to have read. And so Jesus Lord since then has not wanted to deal with me because I've made him look like a fool for him agreeing to this fictitious research and this researcher. And that's a real funny thing that happens where you have someone who clearly fabricates stuff. Like Jesus Lord absolutely fabricates things, and he's gotten caught fabricating it. And so now he wants to pretend as though that conversation never happened when anyone can go look it up in this like the last 15 minutes of our chat.
One of the funniest times I think it was Jay's hangout, the way Jay's timing is. It would be early in the afternoon for me, early morning, when he's just sitting down, and Jill was in the chat giving Jay dog's abuse as Jill usually does, making no sense. And I was like, right, I'm just home from work. I'm going for a shower now. I might bring yous all with me. Put the phone in loudspeaker and listen to it while it's happening. And he freaked out. He's like, do you know you're talking to a room full of men? And I was like, well, do you know I'm now naked and helicoptering for everyone in the chat? And the man here had a panic attack. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, just the needless homophobia. And it's like, just come on. I'm in my underwear every time I talk to you. It didn't bother you before. But now that you know it, now it bothers you. Now you're thinking about me naked. You're the one that's gay, buddy. And it's like, you can be really facetious with him, but he seems to take himself far too seriously, like a lot of people do.
Yeah, he I have to say though, he is I wouldn't go so far as saying he's my kryptonite or anything like that there. That's a very large statement to make, but he fucking gets under my skin because he's such a prick.
Yeah, so that you no, don't feel bad. Like I could hear it in your voice. Don't feel bad that there are idiots that you deal with on the internet and they bother. Like G-Man used to be that way with me. Like I used to actually get pissed off when he'd make videos and he'd just make up stuff. Like G-Man, he's even last night I was out eating sushi with buddy Xavier. He would just make up stuff about me, and I was like, why? Like I've not like besmirched you in this way. Like I've not made up stuff about you, but people feel the need to do that because, well, you don't have anything out in the front for them to talk about, so they have to fabricate stuff. And the things to remember, and this has helped me a lot: don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
None of this stuff, don't take it too seriously. When G-Man starts saying that I'm beating my wife and some of these other folks saying that I'm trying to steal money from their online communities, and it's like, look, I know
$3,000.
Yeah, so it's just I know exactly what's going on, and if these people had evidence for what they're talking about, they would have presented it, and so I'm not concerned in the least. And so that's like, once I realize that, I enjoy it. I love when people start making up stuff about me. So it's okay, let's talk about it. Let's, you see me, beat my wife supposedly. You see me cheat on her. What exactly do you have? Let's show people. I think I need to be exposed. And then when you up the ante, they back down every single time.
Oh, well, they would have to if it's not true. Obviously, no evidence, no receipts, and all that there.
Yeah. That's I think that'll, going forward, carry that with you. If you don't learn anything from my time here on the interwebs, don't let any, like, Jill is stupid.
Whenever I hit 200 subs, I was like, right, what do you want me to do for 200 subs? Self-deprecating suggestions will be put to the top of the list. Would you like me to sing? Yeah. What would you like me to do? I'm comfortable in myself.
Yeah, that's and that's something that's good, right? It's something for you to kind of get more comfortable putting yourself out there, because it's easy for folks, and this is something that you probably get annoyed of later. It's easy for folks to play backseat moderator, and folks, they'll sit and I'm not talking about anybody here, but folks will sit in the live chat, and they'll be in someone else's comments or be in somebody else's live chat, and they'll want to put in their 2 cents as far as what should happen on someone's channel, which is fair, right? You know what, you can have your opinion about that, but it goes into the realm of kind of pissant, where people become self-righteous. And if I was in that position, this is how things should be. And it's like, look, I get it that you have your own set of personal proclivities, but my channel isn't guided around your goals and your personality and your talent. That's the fact.
Yeah.
If there is a suggestion as far as, how I handle the situation, absolutely. But you can leave the self-righteous bullshit out of it, because that's not how any of this works. And so that's something that, you'll see going forward. It will be probably a little bit annoying, but I've just learned that that's some people's personality. That's what they do in real life to other people who are more talented and successful than they are. So
as I said, man, the reason this came about is I'm in the chats, I've got my opinions, I see what people do, and I seen that the problems that Skylar was having. You can't get Christians on if you keep talking about burritos in 1 Samuel. That doesn't work. You look at people whose modern day debate, and you can't leave that sort of shit going on the way it does. Their great channel does well, but it seems now that he just wants super chats and lets things run on. And that's his channel. Do what you want, man. Like, I set up his Discord, and I've had people come at me and go, you can't do this. And I'm like, hold on. This is not my Discord. This is James's Discord, and I run it as he says. He has 2 rules, that's it. I'll stick by his rules, because it's fucking his. And at the end of the day, man, as I started to say, I'm in the chats, and I'm seeing these, not problems, but differences and things like that. I'm seeing a great job that Neil the 604 Atheist is doing. But he's limited because it's deconversion stories. And I take a wee bit from everybody. I enjoy what I do, and I'm like, right, not that I think I can do it better, but I want to put my bit to it, and put my wee niche to it, so you start a channel. I bought a new computer. I took nearly $1,000. I took over £800 sterling out, bought the computer. If I'm going to do it right. This is my opinion. This is the way I want to do it, and I'm going to do it. You got a problem with it? Start your own fucking channel. Constructive
criticism is different than people just bitching for the sake of self-righteous bitching. Because I used to get emails from people, "Oh, Drag, you're better than this. You're wasting your talent." Talking to G-Man, and the person who said that is probably still listening. Look, I got it. Like, my actual real life talent is in a lab. right? I don't take this stuff too seriously because this is not my life. I'm not on here to make money or for e-fame or for any of the or affirmation like a lot of folks. I don't care. This is what I enjoy doing as a pastime.
Yep, this is a hobby. This is fun. This is enjoyment. This is your release. You know, I sit down with a glass of wine and a joint and row with people. None of us is going to change each other's mind. You're not going to change my mind on the who is God and does he exist. And from an atheist point of view or back and forth, our minds aren't going to change. Hopefully it's entertaining for the people watch. It's fucking entertaining for me because I'm involved in it and I'm having fun.
Yeah, but I will say this. This is something that I've learned. This lessons from old school YouTuber. Don't presume that. I used to think that. I used to think that the very thing. Don't presume that no one's minds are going to change, because out of nowhere you'll get a fucking email from someone and they'll reference a video that you did 4 years ago, and you had this one line that was a throwaway line that you weren't even thinking about, and it changed the course of how they were going through life. And it's such a weird thing to get. It's a strange thing, man. And I cannot tell you that there's someone who subscribed to me who's now living in Houston, who's a doctor, who heard me talk to G-Man, as a matter of fact. And I had it was an insult because G-Man's like, oh, who are you? You're whatever. And I said, one of us was in the military, one of us is getting paid to go to school, one of us has a loving family, and the other is a barrel stacking loser. That line right there is why this guy subscribed to my channel and wanted to come hang out with me in real life. And it was just an insult. I was just trying to fuck with G-Man. So the things that you say online actually do have an impact on folks, and that's for better and for worse.
There's a person who's not here tonight, but he's known as Old Man Dan on the internet, on here. I would talk to him every couple of days now because he's joined the Discord and we now have a back and forth. And he left a comment under one of the videos and I've it saved and all the rest of it, and it's something along the lines like that. I had to clear my throat now, I'm going to read it properly. I tuned out of the atheist debunker, critical thinker YouTube social media because of all the big debacles between Silverman Dillahunty, the Non Sequitur Show, Steve McRae versus everybody definition of agnosticism and atheism, Steve McRae versus Kyle, all of Kyle's friends, Steve McRae versus Kathy, all blah, 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 and all that. He goes, now I'm back and expanding my horizons to creators who are less antagonistic, less egotistical, more supportive of other creators, and willing to accommodate a variety of opinions. That search is how I found MathPig and Atheist Age. And I sent that to Jim, and I think that's one of the highest, I think I took that as a very good compliment.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I'll expound as to why that's interesting when we go off air. But it's interesting who this person, and you know what, that's cool. You know what, find the thing that satisfies you. But yeah, I
think it was nice for someone to say that.
Yeah. It's interesting because Steve is still heavily associated with one of those groups. Anyway, people come on here for different reasons. Like some people come on here to learn, and some people come on here to be entertained, and some people kind of want to be a bit of both, like entertained and edified at the same time. But there's always this interesting demarcation between the effort folks are willing to put in to be edified and to help I guess create that type of environment and platform. And that's where B and Scientist Sam and a few others have kind of sat down and talked about, because you can't have content that's purely educational, because we've done that. We've actually had a few. There used to be called journal clubs, and so it would be all of us science heads. It'd be and I'd be the least educated person there. So it'd be me, Scientist Sam, Rational Mind, CRISPR, Cas9. I think we had RSC, who's a physician, and I think we might have had Doc Savage there. So we got people who, at the very minimum, very minimum, are about to complete a bachelor's degree in science field, and like 2 or 3 scientists, a physician, graduate students, and so we would just go over scientific papers that talked about enhancers that are associated with different cancers, and the different technologies that people use to find this out. And man, that probably got all of maybe 10 or 12 live viewers and less than 100 views. So it's interesting because we did that a few times, and it would probably maybe crest over 300 views within a month, if that. So then the open hangouts where you just kind of casually discuss topics and you go and you're debunking younger creationism, that's where people want to see. They want to hear someone talk about, I don't know, abiogenesis not being very viable and it being a fiction.
But if abiogenesis was relative to the video that you were debunking, they would then learn about it relative to that. So you have to combine entertainment with actual knowledge. That's the key. It has to be enjoyable, because people, as much as they say they want to learn, it's hard to sit down for 2 hours a day and read a book, take all this knowledge in, then reread it again because you forgot the fucking first time. It's difficult to do that. But if you're watching a discussion, a bit of crack back and forth, as we would call it, and some asshole, Drag's an asshole, you'll remember that, because afterwards then Drag come back with a formal statement about what he was talking about, and that sticks in your mind.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's the hard part, right? That's why you'll hear me mention like certain things. Like I'm pretty sure people have heard me mention homoserine or semialdehyde dehydrogenase. That means nothing to you. It means absolutely nothing. But if I mention in the middle of a conversation, it's like, okay, so how is this relevant? How is this even remotely close to what we need to talk about? But it's cool to be able, if I could, to like reference something like this in a conversation.
That's
which
just
again,
lines on a page. That's just lines on a page.
Okay, so that's actual research. That's actual scientific research that I just happen to have in front of me, and try to communicate the best way that I can to whoever I'm talking to, but with the knowledge that I know I'm probably not going to convince whoever I'm talking to. The goal when I take the time to do that is to possibly educate whoever it is that's truly curious about it, at least enough so that when they encounter the same thing, they don't have a canned response, but they have what will act as the basis for rudimentary knowledge in that area. You're probably not going to walk away and go, oh yeah, Dragnaught did mention that this particular RNA molecule can catalyze its own reactions. You're probably not going to walk away with that, but you may walk away with, well, the things that were in contention in that discussion weren't actual issues because of recent research. You might walk away with that, and then that is where you go, okay, hey, what was that word that was used? Oh, what was it ribozyme? What was it? And then you can go and educate yourself from there. And so,
no, I completely 100% agree with you. Watching what used to be the Non Sequitur show back in the day, how I came to the community was finding Non-Stamp Collector. I hadn't been on the internet for ages. I then found him, found Dark Matter, found Iron Ra, and from Iron Ra the Kent Hovind debate, and then the whole community. And that's my short wee version. But watching the Non Sequitur and things like that, and other debates and offshoots channels and things, give me the confidence to have these conversations, as you're saying, and giving you a foundation from it. I met a flat earther in real life. I didn't think they existed. They're like a rare species. You just see them on the internet, but he threw his wallet up in the air and asked me to prove this coming up and down, and from my maths and a wee bit of physics background years ago, and reigniting the joy of it and the fun of it and wanting to learn that had given me the ability to have that conversation. I've met an old earth creationist. He believes in this, that and the other. He just can't wrap his head around pond scum to people, as he fucking put it. But
that's the Hovinism.
He came back into work 3 or 4 times, man, and we actually built up a friendship, and he would come into my work close to the end of the day and stay afterwards. We stayed maybe an hour and a half after work having these conversations. One time he came in with a fucking picture of an aborted baby, and we did get quite fucking heated on it. He went to the Northern Ireland has now been made legal to have abortions, so he had his little picket sign and was going to that, and he felt the need to come in and have a conversation with me about it. But we did build up a rapport, back and forth. And fuck, I even went and bought him Richard Dawkins' book from a church charity shop because it was £1.
Nice. So when he brought up the pond scum the people, which I immediately go, that's a Hovinism. What did you say to him, and what type of impact
Well,
did
I
that
laughed
have?
at him and I said, well, the first thing you're doing is you're straw manning me, as you're making me out to be wrong. I says, evolution doesn't say that. And then I did the whole Aaron Ra, and I was, evolution, which is actually known now, is changing a allele frequency in a population over time, if I say that right. And he said to me, what's an allele frequency? And the bastard caught me out. So then I had to go and fucking learn that, all right? But he was like, people don't use that definition. People use the Darwinist definition. And I was like, natural selection is a small part of the overall theory. And then we had to go down the route of theory and hypothesis. And it gives you the confidence to do that. I've more confidence to do that in real life than I do in the internet. The reason being, the people I know that I meet in real life, not to be an asshole, but they don't go down that route of, if I started saying what a fallacy is, I'd have to stop and explain a fallacy. I enjoy these conversations to the point where I went and bought a personalized number plate for my car that says 666 on it, so people come and have the car. What the fuck's there, a black car out there with 666 on it? Oh, that's mine. You want to talk about it? And I can do that in real life. But on the internet, if I make these problems or say something wrong, I will be chastised. I will be put down. I will be like, you said that wrong. It wasn't epistemology. It was fucking ontology. You got that wrong. And it's fuck off.
That's that's the balance, though, right? So there's two things. There is use and people, correcting you right there in the moment. Because I mess up the three systems of normative ethics. I will confuse them all the time. Virtue ethics and deontological, and virtue ethics, deontological, and consequentialism. I mix them up every time, and so people always get on me about that. But I'm grateful for that because I forget them. But when you are having discussions, and a friend of mine does this, female friend who loves talking to people, you allow people to move the goalposts with the statements that they make, and they will simply alter whatever the original premise is based on how much you actually know, because that pond scum the people thing is not meant to be a conversation starter. That's not meant to broach conversation. That's meant to stop it. And so when they start asking, well, do you know what allele frequency is? Say, I have an understanding of it. What's your understanding? Rather than you bearing all the burden in the conversation to try and for them to test your knowledge. Because if they're saying pond scum to people, they probably don't know what allele frequency is themselves. They probably don't know what an allele is.
Well, I have to say that this guy was open to, he actually one day sent his wife in to ask me for a list of some of the books that's on my phone, because me and him were talking about it the day before, but I had to go and all the rest of it, and we'd talked about getting a list and he'd forgot. He sent the wife in the next day to actually ask for the list. So, that's he was open to discussion.
But when you walked away from that conversation, this is a really good teaching moment. I learned something about having these conversations.
Just before you do that, man, if I don't let my dog out the back, now he's just going to eat me. He's been at me for like 15 minutes. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, take your time. Take your time.
Come on. Let's go. He has this thing where he sits for like 3 hours, and then the moment you hit go live, he decides that he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on ahead.
No, you're fine. When you're talking to people, no matter how stupid they are, even if they're Jesus is Lord, I know that's tough, but you try to walk away with something, either a critique for yourself or usually a critique for yourself. Like usually it's something that you learn from them, a point that they have made, or another line that you may have heard before, or more so what I think is more important, a critique for yourself. What I had to learn is that when I reference things in my responses, I need to be able to account for them immediately.
Yeah.
If I mention let me just give you something. The COVID-19 coronavirus acts on the ACE2 receptor in cells. Okay, well, what is ACE2? It's angiotensin catalytic enzyme 2.
Yeah, it's taking that second step and knowing the second step.
Thank you. Yeah, so a lot of people don't do that and they get caught up in that. Now, that's not necessarily important unless it's really pertinent to the point that you're making. Like if it's the crux of your argument. So allele frequency, the change in allele frequency would be the crux of what you're getting at. And so knowing what an allele is and what frequency you're talking about is integral to that. So
it gave me the foundation to say the other day, someone mentioned, I can't remember who it was, and they were talking about alligators and crocodiles and how they're, have existed for so long and they haven't really changed. And I knew what morphology was. I was like, yes, they may look the same, but if you took a crocodile from then and a crocodile from now and asked them to have sex, they couldn't, because their genetics are different.
Yeah. So and it depends on how far into it you want to go, right? Because the second someone says that to me, I was like, that's really interesting. So the Sarcosuchus that existed, or Sarcosuchus and Imperatus that existed at 65 million years ago is the same as the American crocodile right now. And so I know by me asking the question, they have no idea who Sarcosuchus was.
Yeah, PBS eons. I recently watched that on a whole lot of crocodiles, man. There used to be one that was fucking could run close to 30 miles an hour after the dinosaurs died and created a loophole. This thing was land crocodile that was massive, like 12 foot long, that could run up to 20-30 miles an hour and chase people down. You weren't getting away from this thing.
Yeah, no, Sarcosuchus is almost as big as my apartment building here. And it's massive. Look up Sarcosuchus Imperatus. That thing was huge. It could eat an entire families easily. But a lot of you'll learn that you'll have to kind of specialize at some point. And when I say specialize, don't take that to mean that you need to put all your ducks in a row.
I understand that. Yeah. No. I get that, man. What I find that I'm enjoying now, which is straight. Well, it's not strange. What we have over here, what we did have was A levels and A2s after GCSE. So up to the age of 16, when you're from 11 to 16, you're in high school. You're doing GCSEs. Then after that, you would specialize down to 3 to 4 subjects. Most people would do 3. I did physics, maths, chemistry, and biology. My best one was biology, but I wanted to do physics, and I thought the physics obviously would help, and chemistry would help, and maths would help. So I dropped the biology, but it was actually my best subject. I enjoy the biology, and I enjoy evolution loads. It's so goddamn interesting. You just can't stop learning. Sometimes you can hit a brick wall with maths, can't get your head around a concept, but with evolution, it's information as well as learning, but I'm fucking loving it, man. I cleaned out PBS Eon's entire 2-year back catalogue. I now have to wait for daily upload or weekly uploads. It's shit. It's that sort of stuff entertains me as well as educates you.
Yeah, if you're gonna put yourself, I guess, in the same camp as me with science, there's always more. There's always, let me tell you right now, if you really want to fuck up a younger creationist, learn genetics.
Yeah.
If you really want to have an edge up on them, because none of them actually understand genetics. And I'm not going to sit here and claim to be some geneticist myself. I know the very basics of the molecular biology associated with it, and I know a bit of the biotechnology, and as me working with genomes and organisms, but understanding how genes operate, understanding how we interpret the data, and understand the molecular aspect of them will give you an edge over almost any younger creationist. To the point that you'll hear something like Standing for Truth talk about genetic entropy, and you ask him, well, how if I were to do a genome alignment of let's say one generation, like a parental generation, and then I guess 5 progeny generations, what would I see? And just leave it there. You can tell really quickly if someone knows what you're talking about and what you're actually asking them. And so I've asked Standing for Truth a question like that before, and he has no idea. Like, he knows how to repeat line from
Standing for Truth is the one that says hyperzygosity or something, or homozygosity all the time.
Yeah.
Does he know what homozygosity is?
He has a rough idea of what it is. He has a rough idea. I won't say that he doesn't know. Like G-Man said certain things and he has no idea, but he has a rough idea. I mean, that's being homozygous for a trait. Let me give you an example. The gene that gives me my skin color here is MC1R, and so MC1R has two alleles. There's the wild type, and then there's the allele. The wild type codes for pigments brown and black. The allele codes for yellow, and there's a peach color too. I think maybe one more. But the reason why you have your skin tone and I have mine is based on the allele. So now I have
my skin tone's down to the ginger hair and not going out in the sun.
Yeah, you more than likely have the allele, but you have one from your mother and one from your father, right? So do I. Yours more than likely, your MC1R is more than likely homozygous for the allele. So that means that each copy is the same. You have the same allele. For me, the reason that I have this blended here is that I am heterozygous for the wild type. That means one of my parents more than likely had the wild type, and my other parent gave me the allele for it. So that's what that means, roughly. So when you have the same allele at that particular gene on, for both chromosomes.
See, a wee bit like that, on something like that's topic, I've maybe mentioned before, way back at the start of the thing, but, well, not this video, my channel. My wee girl is ginger, right? And ginger is a recessive gene. Now, my woman's family is ginger and I'm ginger, so she was definitely going to be ginger. I knew she was gone from the get-go. She was going to get that. But my woman's eyes are green, and mine are like a greeny colour as well. My wee girl's eyes come out as blue. Now, my mum has that, I can't remember the name of it, but she has green eyes with a little touch of blue in the top right-hand corner. You know that thing where you get two eye colours in your eye? Maybe melanoma, whatever it's called.
Heterochromia.
Whatever the hell it's called, yeah. So there's a wee bit of blue in my mum, which means I've got the little bit of blue. And the chances of her being, actually having blue eyes with ginger hair is quite rare. Generally, if you're ginger, you're usually green. So for the fact that all them genetics came together, it's another excuse for me to say she's fucking special. But it is a rare thing to happen to have blue eyes with ginger hair.
Yeah, it's very incredibly rare. The only thing that you could really say is both you and your wife had to have the allele for it.
Yeah.
Both of you have to have it. There's no other way for her to get it other than both of y'all have to have it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now, even though my mother's green, there is that wee bit of blue in her eye, so my mother definitely has that. And somewhere along my woman's side, like I haven't interviewed every one of her fucking family and stared into their eyes, but she obviously has to have had that. But the chances of that happening, it's, let's go into numbers and what's the chances of this? Chances of it happening is 1 because it fucking did. But yeah.
And it's, you can actually calculate that. Believe it or not, you can actually calculate in a given population what would be the appearance of this particular trait, and calculating that kind of stuff is actually pretty fun.
I actually asked, I can't remember who it was on maybe Shannon Q's channel one night, and I super chatted in and asked him a question, and he looked it up and he said it was 0.017% chance of the population is that rarity.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Which I thought was quite funny at the time, because I grew up in a house named 17 and I'm now in a house number 7 and my last one was 21, so lots of numbers. She was also born in 2017. Yeah, you can play numerology with loads of that there.
all types of connections.
Drag, if you're up for it, I was nearly about to call you Darth there, fuck's sake, apologies. Drag, if you're up for it, I'm going to open it up for a few people. If you can give us maybe another half an hour or an hour, whatever of your time we're willing for. Shut it down for 5-10 minutes. I'm going to feed the dog and do that sort of stuff, piss, smoke, and all what needs to be necessary. And we'll see you back here in about 5-10 minutes or so. That's not you.
No, that's not.
I was on Twitter the day and somebody put like an X video link for Shani. What the hell was that picture about? No idea.
I can tell you.
Well, we're going to go offline. We're going offline. Everybody, thanks for coming. We'll be back in about 10-15 minutes. If you haven't subbed to Drag, his links are in the description, his channel and his Twitter. Give him a hit. We'll give him a hit, give him a thump, give him a thumb. I don't know. Do you like thumbs?
Yeah. As long as they're not creepy, elongated ones.